Hi everyone, I'm Stella and I'm a fitness and health coach for women in menopause, and I am the host of this Inspire show. And as you know, I always bring guests who can inspire you on some way or who can give some knowledge about health. Here today, my guest is David Bilstrom. Uh, he is a certified expert in autoimmune disease, and he's a director of National Autoimmune Institute. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, Stella. So nice to be here.
Uh, what is your how did you start to work with with autoimmune diseases?
Well, I always was an expert on chronic health issues. As a rehabilitation physician, originally my area of specialty was spinal cord injuries. So everybody that I would see was either paralyzed from the waist down, neck down, a very complicated population, but it really taught me a lot about the gaps in traditional medicine as far as taking care of these chronic health issues. And so I've been on about a 30-year mission to learn everything I can about chronic health issues and how to prevent them and how to reverse them, including autoimmune disease when the body starts attacking itself. And this is 80% of people that have autoimmune disease are women. A large amount of kids have it. And I was seeing people in private practice outside of Chicago with these kind of health issues. And everybody had kind of the story of, I don't know what this is. I'm feeling really poorly. It's getting worse. I've been to many doctors and nobody can tell me what is going on. But then once I finally get a diagnosis, the only thing they offer is a medicine that puts a bandage on a couple of symptoms and I continue to get worse. And I read this absolutely heartbreaking story in the New York Times about a famous journalist who was losing her career and her life to lupus. And her story was one I'd heard hundreds of times. And also the fact that, nobody can help even though they got the diagnosis. And when that happened, I said, okay, somebody's got to change the way that autoimmune disease is dealt with worldwide. And I've been on about a 10-year mission to do that.
And why get women more this
Well,
disease?
for two reasons. One is an imbalance between the two hormones, estrogen and progesterone, where you can get too much estrogen, not enough progesterone. So they call it estrogen dominance. And now that is a huge driver of health issues in women. I actually call it the most dangerous disease for women because if you look at the top 10 reasons why women die, almost 90% is tied into this estrogen dominance. And it's involved in really, it is all the hormonal menstrual issues that women might experience during the reproductive years, like bad flows, bad cramps, premenstrual syndrome, polycystic ovarian disease, fibroids, endometriosis, fibrocystic breast disease, infertility. That's all estrogen dominance. But also because estrogen revs and progesterone calms, it's such a driver of excessive worry and anxiety and panic attack and sleep disorders in women. So you look at that and you go, oh my goodness, it's just so common, but also it's a big reason why not only do we have a lot more of that stuff, but we have a lot more issues with menopause because this imbalance of the hormones creates such problems during the reproductive years, but also such problems in that transition through menopause, which really truly menopause should be, oh, I've had great cycles my whole life, no bad flows, no bad cramps. And one day I just didn't have a cycle. And then that's my menopause. But it's so hard to get this balance right nowadays that you almost don't ever hear that being that easy anymore.
And so we are stressed more and we are worrying more, you say, and that is the one reason we
A
can
big
have
reason is
high.
that hormone imbalance.
Yes. And what can you recommend when somebody has this disease?
Yeah,
Yes.
so typically, women's hormones are a lot more complex than guys. And guys, it's kind of like, okay, do you have testosterone or not? that kind of a, in women, it's more of a hormone symphony. And there's so many hormones are important. Individually, each one's important, but the balance is more important almost than anything else. And so ideally, whether it's before menopause or after menopause or during menopausal transition, is the gut is a really big mechanism, central mechanism, so many things, but it's really big for that hormone symphony, getting it just right. And then there's the hormone called cortisol, they call the stress hormone. And so cortisol and gut health are really important in hormone balance and in hormone production. And when we're really kind of a world of messed up guts, and that just messes everything up, including this hormone balance. And then when you start getting these hormone imbalances and gut disruption, it creates a lot of physical stress to the system that even if you don't have a lot of emotional stress, there's so much physical stress. I don't have this hormone, and I have too much of that hormone, and my gut's disrupted, and I can't get nutrients out of my food, and so I'm vitamin deficient, and all this stuff goes on. And here's this estrogen dominance that drives all this stuff.
And in your institute, can you measure what vitamin deficiency we have, or our hormones? Can you measure that?
And that's one of the nice things. And we kind of like to tell people it's really nice to test so we don't have to guess. And truly, just about any lab, even outside of the United States, can really, simple blood tests can show us, not only levels of the two estrogens, estradiol and estrone, but also progesterone, but also the other hormones involved in this, such as DHEA, pregnenolone, testosterone, those kind of hormones, and cortisol. Well, a simple blood test can check for, not cortisol, but all the other hormones, including you can check for the things that might be creating physical stress, like a vitamin deficiency and those kind of things. Yep, simple blood test.
So if we start to eat more consciously, not American standard diet, that we really change our diet, can it help?
Yeah, a couple of different reasons is if you're feeding high quality food and high nutrient content food, you're really feeding the good bacteria in the gut. And you're trying to get a nice mix between the good and bad bugs in the gut, that intestinal microbiome. And then when you eat good food, that feeds the good bugs. When you do relaxation, like meditation, yoga, those kind of things, that helps the intestinal microbiome. When you get out in nature, let sun hit you, get out in nature, that creates a lot of calm also. That helps the intestinal microbiome. And there's a big central mechanism that gets thrown off in the gut that tends to create a lot of these health issues. And that's everybody knows how important vitamin D is. We don't get enough from the sun. We don't eat high vitamin D content fish anymore. So you really need to take vitamin D supplementation, and where we want levels of vitamin D on a blood test between 70 and 90. I'll give you an example of how important it is for like women's health. If a woman just gets her vitamin D above 60, she's automatically decreased her risk of ever getting breast cancer by 82%. So it's very important to get it there for a lot of things. And every cell in our body has vitamin D receptors. So every cell in the body needs it, but it turns out every cell also has receptors for vitamin D. Vitamin D receptors, so vitamin D can attach and tell the cells what to do. But those vitamin D receptors become resistant to vitamin D. And there's more vitamin D receptors in the gut than any other body part. But when those vitamin D receptors in the gut become resistant, you can have all the vitamin D in the world, they can't attach and do the work and tell the cells what to do. And so this is a big central mechanism for everything. But when you fix it, it's a big central mechanism in not only healing the gut, building the good guys in the gut, getting rid of the bad guys in the gut, but it turns out to be a super central mechanism for other things, including it's been called a nuclear weapon against metabolic syndrome. So insulin and blood sugar, abnormal weight gain, cholesterol issues. It's been shown to, you can treat major depressive disorder with it, changes brain chemistry so much that personalities change, people become more outgoing and more social. It also protects women from breast cancer and diabetes, all this kind of stuff. And how you fix it is with a combination of vitamin D, which most people know that they should be taking some vitamin D every day, probiotics every day, which are basically the good bacteria in the gut, and then something called butyrate. Now, butyrate, these are all naturally occurring. Butyrate, it should be made by the good bacteria in the gut. So things like eating healthy, doing your relaxation stuff, getting out in the sun, all these kind of things help your good bacteria make this butyrate more. But
Mhm.
sometimes things have gotten, you just don't have enough good bacteria in the gut because of what's going on with the gut. So if you do, we call it the foundational triad of vitamin D, probiotic, and butyrate, you build the good, get rid of the bad, but then that translates into getting rid of all this inflammation all over the place. This disruption in the intestinal microbiome and disruption of the gut, for example, once again, it really ties into breast cancer prevention. So what happens when all this vitamin D receptor stuff is messed up in the gut, bad bugs from the gut, like some viruses called enteroviruses, will translocate from the intestinal tract across the leaky gut up to the breast tissue, disrupt the breast microbiome, and increased risk of breast cancer. So they will call this the intestinal microbiome breast axis. But we also have the intestinal microbiome brain axis and skin axis. And you name the axis, this intestinal
Mhm.
microbiome is connected with all the other microbiomes in every other body part, brain included. And so it's really important to fix that. And that's a really big way to get everything going in the right direction, including, well, now the body goes, oh, I'm so calm. The stress hormone cortisol starts to reset. Oh, the body goes, that feels good. And then you start fixing this hormone symphony, and you get this estrogen dominance starting to reset itself.
And what is that butyrate? Can we take it as supplement or we can eat on some way?
Well, it comes in a supplement form. It comes as either sodium butyrate in a capsule or one called butyric cal mag connected with a calcium and magnesium atom. Just comes in a capsule form. Very nice, very easy, very safe, no particular side effects. When you tend to use things that the body is supposed to make on its own, like vitamin D from sun exposure, or like good bacteria, or like butyrate, really when you take it as a supplement, usually the body goes, oh, that feels good, kind of a thing. And yeah, it comes in capsule form. Now
Yeah,
there's
so
one
we,
food. There's one
yeah,
food that has butyrate, um, and that's butter. And so this is
butter.
why I think every culture in the world uses some kind of butter, whether it's cow's milk butter, goat butter, in the Himalayas and Tibet, yak butter. So butter is the only food that has actually butyrate in it, which tells you how important butter is for gut health and the health of the body as a whole.
Wow. I put sometimes in my coffee a little
Yeah,
butter.
exactly. It's so good for the gut.
Yeah, good.
And butyrate also prevents cancer 5 ways. It helps lungs stay healthy and eyes stay healthy, brain stay healthy. It really has a big impact on the body as a whole.
And what about inflammation? Is it
Yep. So when
also?
you look at inflammation, a big driver of inflammation, so wherever you have too much inflammation, that body part is going to have health issues. And so another big central mechanism for health or ill health, and this actually ties into why women get 80% of autoimmune disease as well, is in every cell in our body, we have our DNA, our genes that tell the cells what to do. Now, we used to think whatever we got is hardwired. Whatever we got from parents and grandparents, hopefully got more good than bad, but you're kind of stuck with it. But it turns out it's not what genes you have, it's actually which ones get turned on and turned off. So this is called epigenetics, the things that alter gene expression without changing the genetic code. And so when people are having health issues, it's because they've turned on bad genes and turned on good genes in their cells. And it's one reason why it's so easy to get a lot of things going the wrong direction at the same time, because every cell is being told the wrong information. And so this is where you say, okay, we got to optimize epigenetics. We got to turn off the bad and turn on the good. And when you do that, you're in a position to fix everything at the same time. And so this is where
Wow.
things like meditation, Harvard back 16 years ago goes, hey, meditation works through epigenetics. It can fix anything. Well, butyrate almost exclusively works through epigenetics. It's flipping genes on and off in every cell in the body. There's another great one that we love called, made by the liver, called TUDCA, capital T UDCA, super central mechanism, actually kills cancer cells. It's a lovely thing. It also works through epigenetics, flipping genes in every cell in the body, but then also it is called a chaperone molecule. And the chaperone molecule is very interesting because we have all these diseases nowadays, including autoimmune disease, that are so much more common than they used to be. They call them the civilization diseases. So things like blood pressure issues, cholesterol issues, kidney issues, obesity issues, blood sugar control issues, cancer, heart attack, stroke, cataracts, macular degeneration, heart attack, stroke, even autism and all this kind of stuff. And it's all tied into the inability of the liver to make enough of this TUDCA. And so the world we live in that's making us so challenging to be healthy creates inflammation in our cells right where new healthy proteins should be produced. And if you take away our water, a human's 80% protein. So hormones are proteins, neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine and GABA, enzymes that turn this into that, hair, nails, skin, it's all, it's all protein. Well, that inflammation right there in the cells makes it so these proteins become misfolded. And when you misfold a protein, it's not that protein anymore. So it's called the misfolded protein response. So the liver has to make this TUDCA as a carrier, as a chaperone molecule, to make sure these proteins are not misfolded during production. And so then you're able to make these healthy new proteins, hormones, all this kind of stuff. And this is where TUDCA, which also comes in a capsule, actually a very tiny capsule, is so good for all these things that we see so much more now than we used to, including they think it's going to be an absolute game changer when it comes to this epidemic of the neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and dementia and ALS and all these kind of guys. It is so good for neuroinflammation. So if somebody's got enough brain stuff going on to get in the way of stuff, you pretty much know your liver's not making enough of this TUDCA. And this is going to help you with that aspect and the epigenetics. And then this is the big one for women as well, is women have two X chromosomes and guys have one X, one Y. So there are so many bad genes on the X chromosome that for a woman to be optimally healthy, she actually has to shut down, turn off at least 85% of all the genes on the second X chromosome. Almost totally shut down an entire chromosome in every cell of her body to be healthy. That is really challenging. That is a lot of work. And this is where things like the meditation and the TUDCA and the butyrate and making sure you have methyl groups that shut off bad genes. And so eat your high methyl containing foods like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, all these kind of guys contain a lot of methyl groups. And by doing this, then you're able to optimize epigenetics, including for a woman, shut off almost an entire X chromosome in every cell in your body. And then this is where you can really stay healthy your whole life.
Wow. So you say these chronic diseases and autoimmune disease, it's not depend on they are not age related. Am I right?
It's not what related? Oh, age related. No.
Not age, that they are not age related, because we usually of the people think these chronic diseases are age related, but I think they are not because I'm listening to doctors, and I think it's lifestyle related. But what do you think?
Yeah, and this is where we know so much about longevity nowadays. So we used to talk about lifespan. Well, how long can you live? But now we're talking about health span. Well, how long can you stay healthy, right? Longevity. And so it really turns out that the human body is just absolutely fascinating. It's so smart. And ideally, we're designed to really live healthy lives, at least until 90. Now, it probably looks like even 100, 105 now, but we've always kind of said, well, nothing is age related until at least you're 90. So if you're not 90, whatever you got is not age related. It is something. We should be able to figure it out and fix it, but it's not age kind of a thing. And this is where, if you're flipping your genes the right way, you're keeping your hormone symphony just right, all this, really, truly, you can be happy, healthy, at least until 90, if not beyond. Yeah, body's so smart.
So it's lifestyle related.
A lot of it
Is it?
is. But so we kind of talk about lifestyle. I would talk about staying healthy with lifestyle kind of makes sense. So S would be stress management. E would be, eat as healthy as you can. N is get out in nature. Let the sun hit you. Listen to the breeze and the birds. Creates calm and helps cortisol. And then the next E would be sleep hygiene. And then the last one would be exercise, kind of just keep moving 10,000 steps a day, 5,000 steps, and all that. And that is really important. But unfortunately, we live in such a toxic world, such a challenging world. Usually it's going to take more than just lifestyle. Lifestyle gives a really great foundation. And if you truly do lifestyle and you're feeling great, that's good. You probably want to do a blood test to see how good you look on the inside, kind of a thing. But usually people are going to for sure need vitamin D. Got to get vitamin D in a good place. You want to get your vitamin D receptors in a good place. Now, that alone, on top of lifestyle, for some people might be all you need because these vitamin D receptors, they're everywhere in the body, right? Every cell has them, including when a woman's pregnant, her placenta has vitamin D receptors. The developing baby in her tummy already has vitamin D receptors. So this is why it's so important for a woman like to have vitamin D levels that are good during pregnancy, because that really helps the developing baby too. So this is something that really touches everything, any place in a life cycle. It's just very important to get those two really good.
So, and butyrate. You need to eat butyrate.
And then
Yeah.
the butyrate with the probiotic and the vitamin D kind of touches a lot of things. So we actually, use that a lot during pregnancy because vitamin D helps the developing baby. The probiotics decrease the risk of every pregnancy-related complication. And then the butyrate really helps the neurodevelopment of the developing baby. So they see less autism, less developmental stuff as well. But it really applies in every age. So this is what can be really good to kind of get over that menopause hump and then actually get the body in a position. So ideally, these hormones, you think they're very important before menopause, but they're just as important after menopause. And so, like estradiol, they call that the good estrogen. It prevents heart attacks and strokes. It prevents cataracts and macular degeneration. It prevents osteoporosis. It prevents fine lines and wrinkles on your skin. It keeps the gut healthy. Does all this kind of stuff. But when the ovaries shut down at menopause, the woman's got to make it a different way because a woman doesn't need a heart attack, stroke after menopause any more than they need it before menopause. The women just have to be able to make it a different way. And this is where there's hormones that are made by the adrenal gland that sit on top of the kidney, like pregnenolone, like DHEA, that then the adrenal gland makes them after the ovaries retire at menopause. They've been hard working for 3 decades. It's time for them to retire. But then your adrenal gland makes these other hormones, DHEA and pregnenolone, and they go to your cells, and then the cells have to convert it to testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. It has to be done at a cellular level. So you really want your body to be healthy enough that you can make those adrenal hormones so that you can continue to make the sex hormones and stay healthy your whole life, even after the ovaries shut down.
Wow, it's nice. And how are you helping in your institute when came somebody to you?
We always listen to their story, and the story tells us a lot. And then we do blood work. We usually do a stool test, and that will tell us a lot as well. And then usually we have a really good handle on why this is happening and what people can do. And truly, we'd love to have people know how to do this on their own. And so on my website, we actually have a free online educational email course where we talk about where this stuff comes from, including the very first emails about epigenetics. And then there's one in there about estrogen dominance, of course, and there's one in there about cortisol, the vitamin D receptors in the gut, so that people can understand, oh, this is where these health issues come from, no matter where you are in your stage of life. But also we try to teach people, and this is what you do to reverse it on your own. Because truly, if you understand these really big central mechanisms, you're really in a position to get the body along with the lifestyle. That's very important for that foundation to really turn the stuff around themselves.
I heard you talking about glutathione. What is it?
Gluten is a protein in wheat. And wheat proteins are inherently tough on the gut. They create inflammation in everybody's gut. But when the gut gets disrupted enough, that little bit of inflammation that we create when we eat it, our body can't fix it. And then as we keep eating it, the inflammation grows. And then what tends to happen, it creates a leaky gut, kind of an intestines with holes in it. And that creates more food bugging us. That creates difficulty getting rid of old toxic hormones. So this can be a big driver of this estrogen dominance, because when a woman makes healthy new estrogens, they get rid of inflammation, they keep you healthy. But once they've been in the circulation for a while, estrogens will get beat up and are irritating now to the system. So you got to run your detox pathways, dump toxins into the gut so you can poop in the toilet, because most toxins have to leave through stool. Some leave through kidney, some leave through sweating, some through breathing, but most have to be pooped out. Well, when that leaky gut's there, these old toxic estrogens get into the gut, but they can't get into the toilet. They leak back in and accumulate over time. And so you start building up all the old toxic estrogens. The stress hormone cortisol, for example, can get stressed out and stuck in the stress mode. Could be because of emotional stress, but a lot of times it's because foods are creating stress and our disrupted guts creating stress. And then the very first hormone that a woman can't make once she's kind of stuck in the stress mode is progesterone. And so you're building old toxic estrogens, you can't make enough progesterone, you got the rev without the calm, you got this estrogen dominance. And so this is where you want to keep a really healthy gut so that you can tolerate wheat and gluten, but it can definitely become a food protein that can become really problematic for people.
I'm gluten free, so
me too. Me too.
Wow, nice. Yeah, and
it's a tough one.
I feel much more better, and I don't have a bloated stomach anymore. It was because of gluten probably.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like if a woman doesn't eat gluten during pregnancy, her child's much less likely to get not only the autoimmune disease, celiac disease, but also other autoimmune diseases, and is less likely to get brain-related issues. It just creates inflammation every time we eat it, and it can be problematic.
Yeah. What would you suggest, or what is your message to my listeners? What to change if they want to stay healthy? Actually, what to do to have longer, healthier life?
I think one thing is don't settle for, oh, I have a chronic health issue, much because of age. You know, truly, menopause should be smooth, and then you should feel healthy after menopause, and you should stay healthy after menopause. And if you're not, don't let anybody tell you that it's age related. And don't let anybody tell you that, you know, here, this medicine for this thing is the answer. Because otherwise, if you're using a medicine for every ill, you just keep getting medicine, and they all have side effects. They start interacting the wrong way. And so truly, you know, your body is so smart, you should feel great after menopause. And if you're not, there's got to be a good reason, and there's no reason you can't reverse it and truly feel great. And then, you know, have this really high quality life, that health span where you feel healthy until you're riding your mountain bike and you fall off a cliff at 90 years of age. Something like that.
Yes, I want that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'm doing workouts every day and going out and doing outdoor workouts and everything. So I really want to stay energized and healthy in my 70s, 80s, 90s. So
and that's how
I'm
the body
doing
and
it.
brain are designed for.
Yeah, and I learning always something new, like from
Mm-hmm.
you too. And I'm listening doctors who think also that chronic diseases are not age related. that we can change many things. Yeah. Just
Absolutely.
we have to change our limiting beliefs about that, I think.
That is so true. Absolutely.
Thank you, David. It was a great pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me. It was my pleasure as well.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.